G'day everyone, welcome back to the fish room. Well, today I've got an exciting video for you. My mate has bought a 6 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot tank, and probably about 6 weeks, maybe even 8 weeks ago now, and we've been planning on getting that done. So that's what today's video is about. We're going to include a pretty much automated water change system that goes with it. We've got some plans of what we're going to put into the tank and just make it a centerpiece of his house and his lounge room. So go and get comfy, because I'm not really going to talk too much about fish. Well, I suppose I am, but mostly about setting up his 6 footer. I can't wait to show you the end results. Okay, so what I've got to do first is climb under here and then climb all the way into the middle of the house over there, and I've already drilled the holes and got the pipe sticking through. So it's rather wet, has been raining, so it's going to be not the greatest of crawls, but anyway, it has to be done. And then I'm going to drag the pipes through and have them come out over here. Okay, so what I did was I've connected them underneath. I've dragged the waste out here, and you'll see over here I've got the 13 mil, so it's 19 mil waste, 13 mil. It's a tap here. I'm going to put a manifold here so it can all be turned on and off, and also have a control valve under there. So I've got the main lines in now, and I'll show you inside and just how I'm going to hook them up next. Okay, so as you can see, it's rather muddy underneath the house at the minute, but it's actually all done now, so I'm trying not to put footprints anywhere. I'm going to go home and change my pants before I do all the stuff inside and make more of a mess. Okay, you can see the remnants of the pipe. So what I was saying before, outside 19 mil waste, or 3/4, and 13 mil inlet. What I've done is I bought a vent to actually have the pipes go through. Now, I'm not going to cut this. This is for when there's no tank here, and you pull the pipes out, you stick the vent back in, and you don't have to worry about repairing or patching the walls. I've drilled through the bottom plate, which was timber. It's quite thick timber as well, and you saw where I've got those run outside. I've got a control valve in here for the waste, which will be the permanent siphon, and this one I'm going to run across the back and up and into this side of the tank, so it fills here and it will drain out of this side. Isn't that sunlight good? It's going to be awesome when it hits the tank. So I'm going to hook this up now, and I'll just do a bit of time lapse on that, and then hopefully get the tank back against the wall and be done with it. Now, to stop any rodents or bugs coming through, they come with a little screen, so I'm going to most likely just clip it to the inside of this plastic rim in here so that they don't move, and then I'm going to cut the screen and silicone it in so it's actually working, one, as a vent, as well as stopping the other bits and pieces that may nasty crawlies might come out. My son's put a PowerPoint in. He's a qualified electrician, so in fact he and I put that in. I did all the under house crawling. He just got to do the clean electrical stuff from the top. So that's where I'm at now. I will just show you me finishing that up and putting the tank in its position. Okay, so the next thing is to look for some hardscape, and I've actually had this in mind for a tank for a long time, but I've never really had one that was big enough. Could have gone the 8-footer, but I've already got a heap in there. So this is the log I'm actually thinking. You can see it's already got some moss and stuff growing on it, which is really cool. So I'm thinking I'm going to put that in there as the first sort of major piece, and then is the next stuff that's going to go in. I've got a heap of rocks. I probably will need to get some more, but given the size of the place, but at the moment that's what I'm going to take over, and I'm just going to set it up temporarily. You see I've got all my coral rocks and shrimp and bits and pieces in here that was still from that sump, but this is what I'm going to start setting it up with and get the angle right, and then I think we'll get some air going as well. And I've also got a couple of sponge filters that have been soaking in my sump there probably for a couple of weeks now. And where was that? Oh yeah, I've got airline and other bits and pieces here. I've got spare and air stone I'm going to stick into the middle as well, so I'll take that over. I might just give you a quick look at we've called him Wally the water dragon, and he seems to be doing okay. He's back to eating and drinking and pooping and stuff, so I most likely will let him go. It's a bit rainy today, so I think I might let him go tomorrow. In fact, probably wouldn't matter because I'm just going to let him go in here, but he does go in and out getting some sun, and there's not much of that today. Okay, so I'm going to head over to my neighbours now and take this stuff over, and then get cracking on it. I've added a few more plants to my river tank. If you haven't seen the video on this one, setting up this river tank, yep, check it out. I've got the covered, silicon glued rock in this one now, so I can move that out. I've got a heap more moss that I want to put in, and some more plants up here, maybe some bromeliads. I've got a nice big bromeliad out the other side as well that I'm going to probably put here in front of this in a pot. But at the moment, everything's doing okay, so I'm going to head over to my neighbours now and get cracking on putting this in the tank. Okay, so we're back for what is probably day 2 or 3 as far as setting this tank up goes. Now that all of the infrastructure's in place, the waste pipe and also the water inlet pipe, I'm going to also take you through the lighting and what I'm going to use on the top of this tank, because I know I get asked a lot of questions about the lighting and how much and what I do with it. It's nothing special. So what I'll do now is time lapse just getting through all of that. In fact, what I'll do first is just show you the lights, which I've already got ready to go over here. So they're just what's that, 6,500 kelvins, 1300 lumens. This is the brand from the big box store here, and this is what they look like. And I've just joined these two together with a connector cord, and you can actually keep putting them in a row, but this will be enough to get across the 6-footer. And I'm going to screw those connections and clips in to the top of the tank, and then that way I can take them in and out or whatever we need to do. My mate's already painted it, so it's all finished essentially from the outside. That's the water stuff which you've seen me do already. And what I'm going to do is, we have a really big log outside which we've been soaking now for probably 2 weeks maybe, and still got a bit of buoyancy to it, but I think I'll be able to weight it down with some rocks. And what I'm going to try to do is get down here so you can see, is have it go the large section here right across, maybe on a 45-degree angle, maybe less, and just have that as the feature that you're going to be looking for. Some rock bommies over here, maybe some over here, some over here as well. And my mate's already got the sand in it, which is great because I hate cleaning sand. And what we're going to do is, this is the lights are off, which I'll show you again in a minute when the lights are on. But basically, this is the tank we're pulling down. It has the big Acaras in here. You might be able to see them there. Oh, there you go. Lights are on. So so these are the pair that's in there. The little girl lost her mate. That's lucky. He jumped out of 2 different tanks and tubs and was almost completely dry. and he's come over here and had, you know, close to 1,000 babies. There's a whole tub of them in here. We haven't counted them, I don't think we're going to, but you know, there's been hundreds each time that they've bred, and I'll just show you through that. Don't they look cool? And a heap of ram's horn snails. And then there's this next batch down here, different sizes, so they'll be in there till they get a bit bigger. And I think at the moment this is going to pretty much be a grow out tank for the Acaras, but I ultimately will be a display tank as well. But my mate's very keen to see hundreds of Acaras swimming in there, and because it's such a wide tank as well, it actually just is perfect for a really cool scape. So yeah, so I'm going to get into that, and then this tank is going to be pulled down. The sorties have gone nuts. He hasn't bred quite as many, but close to it. And this was the rescue tank. If you haven't seen that video, I'll whack that up on screen now so you can see it, but you can go back and see what we did with this rescue tank. My mate was killing pretty much everything he touched, and now he breeds everything he touches, which is good. I have opened my first Bundaberg ginger beer today, and Riley's in position, aren't you, Riley boy? Yep, he's taking Brutus's spot in his place. Okay, so I'm going to get into it, and yeah, you'll see how it unfolds, and I will come back to you shortly and give you an update. Okay, time for a quick update. Probably only took us about 10 minutes to get to this point. But as you'll see, we got the log in. We were a little concerned because the bracing was so heavy and wide that we might not get it in, but we did. We just stuck one of the lights on just so we could see what we were doing. But what I've managed to do was find a decent rock that had a sort of like a notch out of it to go over the top of the log here. If you can see, hopefully I can zoom in with this. Yeah, look. So that moss has been underwater for a couple of weeks now, and it's actually gone, I think, to its aquatic variety or version of itself, which is fantastic. I've got some height in with some bricks, just some half bricks. They've also come out of one of my tanks, so they're well soaked. And then I've sat that rock on top, which is of course also going to help hold down here. And I've got another flat top rock I might put in there. But the hopefully now, with the light on, you can see what I'm trying to achieve is the this is a cutout of a river where this log has speared down through the river and then got stuck on some sort of rock outlet or ledge or some sort of thing over here as far as jamming it into position. And because of the shape of the timber, that was always the thought I had in mind, because it looks like it's a spear as it's gone down the river. So we will make some bommies over here, some rock areas for both perspective, because it is a big tank, and I'm planning on having tall plants through here like Vallisneria at the back, so it looks like it's speared into the side of the riverbank. And then I'm not sure, I don't know how many Amazon swords I've got. I wouldn't mind Amazon swords through here, some more moss on the log here, and then something smaller in here as well. Maybe I'd like carpeting type plant, but I don't think the lights are going to be big enough, and we're certainly not putting CO2 on this system. So anyway, that's where it is at the moment. I'll keep it on time lapse, probably from one of the end angles, because yeah, you'll see, I think, a better view with the glare that I've got on the tank at the minute. So okay, I'm going to get into it, and I will check back in with you guys shortly. Okay, catch up time again. I am pretty darn happy with the way it's looking at the moment. I really like that view down the end, from obviously the pointy end looking as it tapers out and gets larger at the back. I'll give you a walkthrough of what we've done in setting it up. Have a look from this end first. So again, it was meant to have speared into a riverbank of sorts. I have got some rocks on here coming over the top, and that happens obviously in the natural system as well, but I want to make sure it doesn't float, and I've sort of got sideways pressure in from there, and I've also got this one over here leaning, jamming it back the other way, so opposing pressures now. Hopefully that will stay in there. That was a nice little archway that we managed to get in. See if I can get through that glare. I don't know if it's going to let me zoom in here. There you go. So there's an archway where they can fly through there, and of course that will be good if you have tetras and other things in here. This could have amazing angels or discus or a whole range of fish. Rock bombing out here, so that I'll plant that out with something. The thoughts on the planting is going to be Vallisneria at the back. I want it to look like it has speared into a riverbank or something like that, and putting Vallisneria along there will hopefully achieve that. I know the glare's bad because of the white floor, but as it gets darker, then you'll get a better view of it. But hopefully you can see what I'm trying to achieve, and hopefully it's working. My mate says he's happy, but he might not be, and just change it when I leave. But I think where it is at the moment, it's actually coming together nicely. So I will, I'll come back to you now after I think we're going to fill it and maybe see what plants I've got in some of the tubs. And so I've noticed the sunlight in here, and I decided to show you this before I move on. But some of this thin leaf Java fern there we're going to use on that log over there. I've got some more at my place which I'll bring over, and hopefully some velvet. Check out how many sorties there are in here, and don't they look good in the sun? All fish look better in sunlight. Okay, now I'm going to get into it. Okay, well, we've got it filled up, as you saw. I've got some air running on it. It's probably not going to be the ultimate filtration that we're going to use for, we will use air, but I'm going to actually supercharge those sponge filters. I think I'm going to put the risers up with the airflow 90-degree bends that I've made before, which I'll show you guys again how to do that. But essentially, most likely have a directional flow up and across to the center of the tank, and from this side as well, and then this is just an air stone running through. I've got to move it 2 inches to the left. It's not exactly center, so I've got to sort that out as well. Yep. So we'll drop some snails in now actually. So the lids, what I do like about this tank, we've got to get some some little handles for that, but what I do like is these lids do open individually of each other, which is cool. So I'd evenly spread out. We're just dropping in some ram's horn snails. In they go. Start the biological process going through. As I say, 2 weeks, the log's sort of been soaking and the moss is growing in well. The sponge filters have actually been in my sump now for at least well over a month. And of course this will clear up as we go through. I might even see if there's a larger sponge filter, but what I'm going to do is hide these. So this will all be Vallisneria all around this to begin with, or possibly foxtail. I do like the foxtail as well. That'll completely sort of cover that, and then the back wall I'm aiming to have Vallisneria all the way along, so that when you stand back from here it looks like it's speared into the bank and that there's some more depth behind it because the background is actually black as well. So, but it looks pretty good. There's, I think, a ton of spaces. I've got to fill all these with some plants. You can, well, you'll see it shortly. I've got a couple of ideas for some swords and stuff in there. Some Java fern that'll go around it. Some moss on the rock itself. Same thing if I've got some Anubias, you know, around here. So there's a heap of stuff, and you'll see I've got little pockets and areas for cories and for plecos, and there's a little tunnel through there, and there's another little bommy over here. Up there you'll see the air stones popped out. They'll hide under here for sure, and then again that's all hollow under here, and that log's got a decent amount of hollow through it as well. And you might be able to see the little archway better from there. Doesn't that look good? I'd sit here and watch those air bubbles go through that for a long time. I do have to get a like I guess a filter or a screen, which I'm just going to use one of the normal sort of overflow filters for that one, or a pump filter I've got, and I want to fill this space in here that's been cut out by the previous owner. But it's coming on well. I'm really happy with it as a first night type thing, and we'll let it run now for a few days, and I'm going to collect all the plants, the val, anything down. I'd like some lower, not carpeting necessarily plants, but some lower growing plants around here. And if I can get some Anubias out of my tanks, which I think there's a few plants that are growing pretty well, then I'd like to really get some Anubias in here, and then I think it's ready to put some fish in. But anyway, you're going to see what's happening now. I'm going to take a few days to think about it, and yeah, I guess next is the update for you guys. Okay, so we're back after about a week of letting the tank settle in. It looks just fantastic. Still a little bit cloudy, but that's okay. We're going to do a water change now. I'm going to siphon it out with the permanent siphon, and then we're going to plant. Now I've actually hurt my finger, so I can't get my hands wet, which is going to be pretty good actually, because I don't get to I don't have to do the work. My mate's going to do some of the planting, and what I thought I'd do is, whilst I'm explaining to him how to plant the plants and where to plant the plants, it's probably a great thing for people who haven't done it before to actually hear I guess the strategy, philosophy about how I'm planting it and why. So okay, I'm going to get into that now, and hopefully it will look fantastic by the end of it. Okay, so the tank's drained and we've got the plants out. I've got a glove on so I don't get my my hand wet. I've actually torn the tendon off the bone and got to wear a splint for 6 weeks, which is going to be interesting trying to do my fish stuff. But the aim now is to plant all through here, the Vallicin area, in a row, to give us the height that I want there. And then over here, I'm going to do like an Amazon sword group planting, and we've got enough val to do that. And I've got some Ballicin area, which is a really beautiful plant which will go here. I might put one on the other side as well, and then try to hide this with some Vallicin area with a V, the other one's with a B, and we're just cleaning the glass as we go. And then what will happen is that should give us the height that I'm looking for at the back here for that bank look. And we're not going to overplant it, given the amount of fish that we are going to put in here. I think it's probably less is more is the strategy we're going to do. And when we're planting the roots, now these are all joined. This is just out of one of my ponds, and essentially you want this root ball to be almost touching the glass bottom, and you just want to work it into the sand, and then it'll, once, you know, a week or two, the roots will take up, and it won't be coming out, and it will hide this sponge filter here. I haven't got the uplift tubes at home at the moment, so I'll end up buying them, and I might even do an update on that the air system at some other point. But for today's exercise, we're just going to leave the sponge filters with the usual outlets or I guess, exhaust chimney type things that go on the top of the sponges. So what we'll do now is plan it out and then refill it, and then I will come back to you and show you what it looks like. But the same applies for the Amazon swords. I've got a bucket of them here. This is the Ballison area with the B. You can see it's crypt. This is the Amazon swords. There's quite a few of them I've taken out of my tanks inside. Some have got some snail damage on them, and I'm going to just cut them or break them off so that they're not all joined. But you get like I think they might even be called chain swords, but when the big female plants put out the big runners with the babies, and they sort of float in the water column, or they're attached to the plant whilst they're in the water column. So that's the plan, and yeah, let's see how it looks when it's done. Okay, so my mate just asked me how we actually get the plan. How does the plan come together with what I'm thinking in my mind? And again, I've spoken about it before. Using like a rule of thirds is in bonsai. That's a technique that comes from bonsai training. So try to use odd numbers of plants. So if you've got 3s, 5s and 7s, the theory behind it is that in nature you don't have anything even, nothing symmetrical. You'd have more plants on one side, less on another side. So we've planted 3 or 4 val across here. We've got at least 3 over here, and that will produce more val on this side, less val on this side, but the effect should still be the same of trying to give it that depth of a bank. One feature plan is always a good way to go if it's something like that Ballison area that's in here. And the Amazon swords, I'm just breaking them off the chains that they come on, and there are some damaged leaves. I'll just leave them because what snails are in there, we'll clean those up. Just pull a couple of the really bad ones off. But yeah, rather than leave that as a chain, I would just break that off, and this one as well. And then I try to have 1/2 inch either side of the roots when I break that chain off. And I've got 3 in there now, and I'm going to make it look like it's you know, an area where the plants have actually just naturally formed, be it with flow in the river or whatever it is, and there might be a quieter area. And then once they get into that area, then they'd actually just spread out, and you'd have like a little grouping of them. So there's 5 in there at the minute. What I like to do then, once you've got that, and they'll get quite large, they'll be sort of 4 or 5 inches high, they'll fill that, and it would look not like an informal hedge, I guess, really, but to then break it up so it looks natural and doesn't look like that hedge, is you plant one over this side. I'll just break that other stem off, and then this will actually join this end of the tank to the middle, and or if I put something up there, which I haven't decided yet. So, and it fills it out in such a way that doesn't look like it's a I guess like a formal design. It's more of an informal style that I'm trying to achieve with this one. Now this Ballison area, this is another one of those crypts there. If I've got a long root like that, I like the roots to stay rather than breaking them off, so I just wrap them around my fingers like so, just make it into an informal type of a ball there. And there's a gap here in the middle. I'll go slightly to one side to begin with, and I just squish it into the sand, put the roots right down to the glass, and then this also should give me a bit of height through here. Now it may be that this grows too large and we want to pull it out at some point, but that's okay. When it is too large for here, it'll be the perfect size to move perhaps behind the log, and to fill a space if over time there's a bit of a gap in there, and potentially where I'd put it would be right there in just off from the center to give it some height, and then the flow would push the leaves this way. But it should do well as it is. This is a larger sword, and quite a good one. I found this one in one of my tanks over there. So again, just to continue the theme along, what I'm going to do, just curl that, I'm going to root ball up there, and having a look at it, there's this open space in here. You want to also make sure we don't plant under anything. You want to be under the log, for example, because you want the light to be able to get to it, unless it's a plant like a Nubius. So what I'm thinking with this one, there is a little spot there I could do, or do I want depth across there? No, I think I'll plant it here for now, a little bit central. But it's certainly not under the log, and it'll get enough light there to grow. And don't be afraid to move the plants around as they grow. If they get too big, then it's just a pretty simple task to actually just pull them out of there. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that one there. I do think that little space that I saw before could actually do with some more sword. So I think I will put another one over here. Yep. And then it leaves the front area across here too for the cories that we ultimately will put in there to get across. Now I've got some more thin leaf Java. Hello Riley boy. And again, this is an epiphyte, so it will grow on the logs and on the rocks. So what I'll do there is lay it the way there's always a front and a back to a plant. So the front is obviously where they're growing towards the low. I'm just going to pull that rock slightly forward, jam the roots in there, and that'll grow, and that will continue to grow all along that plant. I did have some Java moss. Yep, I do. So this is something that's brilliant just to stick on to the ends of timber. Wouldn't mind some more thin leaf Java there. This stuff is good to cover logs and rocks and bits and pieces, so I'll just sort of wind that, jam it on the end of it there, and then I try to cross over the moss and just try to wind it on there and push it in any of the little nooks and crannies. Try to jam some of it into it, and then once this gets established, and it will hold on, it'll actually just grow and look fantastic, as they do. I love Java moss. I will put some over here too, because it will fill that gap. See the gap in here? That's something that I want to soften, and to do that I'm just going to use this Java moss, and then I'm going to pull that back slightly, stick it under there, and that's enough. It'll attach itself. It won't. It's enough to stop it floating, and for it to then be able to just grab on and do whatever it's going to do. And then over here, so you'll see those two bits over there. I'm going to use the third bit over here to fill this rock space in here, and just in the gap in there, jam it in. Same thing. It won't take much more than a couple of weeks for it actually to hook on and hold on. I have some Sawasatang, which is always great for little babies, and I like to I do like to hide I have a place for them to be able to hide. Sawasatang probably around the base of this log is where it might naturally get caught, and all I'm going to do here is pick up one of these rocks and then just sit it over the top of it. It'll pretty much stay together. I might use another rock to just to hold it down. Some of it will float, but that's okay, because wherever it lands in the tank is where it would naturally go, just like in a river or a pond with the flow, and once it's got somewhere to hold on to, it'll stick and it'll grow. So that should be all right there. I like the open areas there. I wouldn't change too much of that. I might put a sword over that side, because also with this tank what we've got to remember is it's not just the front view, you've got the end views as well. And I do have a couple of other swords in here. They look a little bit worse for wear because I think they're bladder snails that I've got in the tank that I took them from, and they are yeah, they're sort of, when they get hungry, they are ravenous when it comes to plants, but it won't take long for this to come back and look new. It'll throw some new leaves out pretty quick. And I haven't got any fertilizers in here. I don't use fertilizers for the plants. It's just playground sand on the bottom. There's no need to do it. As far as I've found, you can put fertilizers, you can put root tabs and all the rest of it, but the plants that I'm using are pretty basic and they will just take off and be the same as they are in my tank. Okay, so I've got the Ludwigia. This is actually just immersed growth out of one of my ponds, and I've just broken off 3 or 4 little stems, tried to make it into a bunch as best I could, and the aim now is to get it to fit in here and look like it's naturally grown there. So to do that, I just pull that rock back a touch and stick the roots or the stems into it. So Ludwigia doesn't need soil necessarily to grow, and as long as I've got some pressure on it, it should fill that space quite nicely. And it's again, it's a feature plant, and I'm only putting the one of those in there. Now, one of the things I might do is just get a couple of extra little rocks and stick in there, and then that will actually sort of lock that in. Now, one thing we want to do with this with this tank is my mate really loves duckweed, so we're going to put a heap of duckweed. No. So what we've got to do is make sure there's no duckweed, like nothing. And I've already seen a few bits floating in here. So as this fills up, the best way to get rid of the duckweed is to get the water above the plant line, so because duckweed floats, and then we'll scoop it out now when it's about half to 2/3 full, and we'll keep on scooping it out as we go. So we drained it with the valve at the back. We're going to fill it with the valve on the front here. We might do that without the lid on, just fill it up now, get the duckweed out, and then put the lid back on so that we can fill it up and finish it with the lights. Obviously we've taken the lights out just to be able to do this so we can film, but also to see because I'm blind. But I'm pretty happy with that layout. That feature plant there is going to be nice and tall. It's going to have the flow from that filter. The air stone goes up and out both ways. We've moved the heater because it was on one side, but we're actually now going to put it in the middle so the heat comes up and disperses out evenly, and you'll get this type of action and flow, and the other sponge filter is going to be coming up and out. So we may not need to put the the supercharger, I call them, as far as the airlift tubes on those. So we'll just see how it runs. If we do, I'll update everyone and show everyone how it's done. But I'm pretty happy with that. The height on this thin leaf Java, now it's actually drying out, so whenever you're doing planting, aquascaping, always throw water back over the leaves, otherwise they will dry out too much. It doesn't take long. It's only been 10 minutes and they've already started to dry out. So if you just keep on splashing water over them, they'll be fine. The only other consideration is, no, I don't want an Amazon sword there. It will actually, it's good having Amazon swords and Balasinaria there, and no Amazon swords and Balasinaria up here. We've got thin leaf Java Val, and it actually gives that, if it's not symmetrical, it's not evenly spaced. If you evenly space plants and put them out, it looks like a formal type of a setup, which is again fine. But if you're going for natural, then you don't want that. You want the, if it makes sense, the randomness to be even, which is I know a bit counterintuitive, but when you actually look at it, you want to be able to go, oh wow, there's those 2 plants are in there, but they're not in line. They certainly, in bonsai, the rule is if you're going to do thirds with 3 plants, for example, or 3 branches or 3 whatever, you don't have 3 in a row. You'd always have 3 separate, so you can't look down in one particular line and see a row. They shouldn't line up. So if I look down there, that plant is here, and then that one is over here. So offset would be a good term. But I love the way that the Java moss has already filled those spaces. It already looks pretty natural. So what I think we'll do now is fill it up, as I say, get rid of the duckweed, and then I'll come back and talk to you about just how to the finessing I talk about all the time. Is that last 5-10% is how you bring it all together, and making sure these leaves are facing the right way, making sure the plant, if you need to turn it, that's the time to do it. And it's just that last little bit of tidying up that makes the scape pop, really. Okay, let's go and fill it up. Okay, it's update time again. So probably spent about an hour, I'm guessing, to get to this stage, but I'm pretty happy with that, and my mate's pretty happy with that. You can see the height's just about perfect for the ballast area in here. The Ludwigia will turn and face the light over time, over the next week or so. It's just been growing, in fact, flat along the ground, horizontally along the ground. Now we're going to train it to grow vertically, and the roots will start to hang down under there, which is good. Happy with the placement of the plants. I put a few more rocks around here just to sort of tie in that bommy as an area that's been sort of made due to flow, and that's the look from here. A bit cloudy, of course. You'll see in the next shot tomorrow when we're going to hopefully put the fish in that it's cleaned up. Centered the airline and got the heater, as you can see, hidden by the bubbles, which I think is pretty cool. And this has all come in. I really like the thin leaf Java. I like the way that this sort of snakes through with the sword, and then a larger one here, and of course not one here. If this ballast area, when it gets to that size, I'm actually thinking we might even pull it out and put it over here to add some extra depth to it. But for now, I think it will grow really well there. And the thin leaf Java up here, you can see the Java moss is sort of jammed in there. It'll actually grow really well out of there, and I might even bring some more over for here. And I've got some up in here which you saw me plant as well. I put some rocks in, as you'll see, to hold the Ludwigia in, and I'm really happy with that. I like this view through here with that little tunnel through there. See if it'll let us zoom in. But that little tunnel and alcove in there is pretty cool. I put some more rocks around here as well, just to sort of tie in this area of rocks, and just breaking up the substrate's really good, I think, for the fish and cories and plex anyway. They'll love to dig in the sand, but then use their, I think they're called barbels, to get into all of these areas. You can see the sponge from this side, but the valve takes your eye away from that just being on this side as a bit of a, I guess, a bit of a disguise of that particular filter. And then the height of this Vallicin area at the back is really good. It sort of adds to the depth. So that's how it looks at the moment. And then, as I say, I'll come back in the morning and we'll see how we go putting the fish in, and you should certainly have cleaned up a lot by that stage as well. And the auto fill and auto drain systems are hooked up. The permanent siphon is now working. If you can see it's probably too dark to see the valve, but there's a valve there for the water drain. And I put just one of my overflow sort of screens on that. I think for the size of the babies, I might stick a bit of sponge over that as well, just to be super safe, as opposed to dragging them through as we do a water change. And the auto water fill has made it a pretty easy tank to look after. So, okay, well, I will go home and sort out my fish room and come back in the morning. Okay, so it's the next day and things have cleared up nicely in the tank, and I think we're going to put some fish in now. We've decided we're actually, after chatting with my mate this morning, it's probably too nice a tank to set up just for an Acara grow out with all of the babies, which are over here. And they're in this tub, and as you can see, there's a heap of them. So what we're going to do is catch the two parent Acaras, which is Lucky and Miss Lucky, out of here, and we're probably going to try to do that now. There's too many sorties just through here. It's really just a sword tank, and there's so many babies, as you can see. So we're going to catch the two Acaras out of here now, move them into this tank and make this a community tank. So we will, I've got, there's 5 Adolphois I've just caught up, not Adolphois, what are they, Sturbi corridoras, in here. So these guys will be the first ones that go in, and then the two Acaras can go in after that. Because this is a community tank, it really cries out for more fish than just Acaras, and I'm thinking potentially some angels and some tetras and obviously plecos and a heap of cories. So there are cories in this tank over here, which I think we've probably got at least 5 stir-bys. You can see one there, in there, which will transfer across. We'll transfer most of, or some of the, where are they? Yeah, these guys, the plecos, and they can go across there. And I think next week what we'll do is we'll pull this tank down, and I will do an update video, like a part 2, or include what we're doing in another video. But we'll take these Acaras out of here. We'll take all of these out of here first, catch the sorties up, put them into another tub, and then basically strip the tank down. There's a few Adolphois in here, there's a few stir-bys in here. Take those from there and pop them into this tank, and then that'll be a good start of getting that in, I guess, the volume of fish that we want in there. And those swordtails will go down to Ross's, and what we're going to do is swap them for some tetras to fill this one out. Doesn't that look good from here? So I think this tank deserves to have some special fishing. Not that the Acaras aren't special, but you just don't need 200 Acaras in here, and they would pull all of the plants apart, given their nature when they start to breed. So these cories have come from a 3-foot tank, so they're going to be stoked to go in there. These guys are a 3-foot tank as well, and I think they're just going to love the upgrade, and the sorties will be gone, and this will be the grow out tank for these little bubbies down here. And then anything that does breed in this tank over here, then we can siphon out of here and put into here to grow out. And there's so many in the tub down here that it'd be crazy for my mate not to be able to actually sell them and get the benefit of them. Otherwise you will have hundreds of Acaras in here. So I will I'll drop them in now, and you can come along for the ride. Okay, so these guys will be the first ones to go in, and we'll do a bit of a release shot. I think we'll have to actually, we'll just get this lid off, and the lights are actually on little clips, so they can sort of be removed quite easily. And I will just take the lid off. That's the other thing we did get done, is that my mate got some perspex, some core flute perspex, which is great because it just stops the evaporation out of the tank for the water. It also stops all the moisture getting onto the timber up the top. Now, if you want to come over this side, and we'll try to get a bit of a release shot as these guys go in. We've pretty much got exactly the same water, so it's not a massive problem, and I think they will be very happy to get out of this container. 1, 2, 3. I think I've got 2 boys and 3 girls in there, so a good mix, and they're going to be super happy. Yeah, first fish in. Doesn't that look good? This guy up here, oh, he just ducked into the rocks. Okay, so move them over that way. Now we've got a bit of water, and I'll try to get no duckweed in here if I can. So we'll pop her in. So this is the girl. So she's in. We can see one bit of duckweed, which I'll get off. And then we will, old mate's aware of what's going on. He's not going to play ball too easily. Come on. There we go. Okay. And we'll try to avoid the duckweed again. So, and in he goes. It's been a long time coming, hasn't it? Sorry about the mess on the floor. Okay, so they'll take a little while to settle in, of course, but they will They should be very happy in there. Now, because that's the only ones we're putting in today, I think I'll put the lids back on. It should just slide in like so. And they're in. Okay, well, that's the end of this video. What do you think of the tank? I'm pretty happy with it. My mate's pretty happy with it. I think the fish will be stoked, but not so much at the moment. They're a bit shocked as in being ripped out of their other tank. I think what we might even do is do a bit of footage down at Ross's when we're actually going to get the fish and what we're looking to put in there. Maybe some Colombian blue-red tetras, maybe some rumminos. Given how small those swordtails are in that tank and the acaras aren't eating them, then I think some tetras should be okay, but we'll have to see. It's an expensive exercise putting like neons in there and having them used as food. But all of those swordtails, they're going down to Ross's. If you're actually local on the Gold Coast and you want to buy some of those swordtails, they'll be down at RC Aquariums. Most likely next Saturday we'll go down and drop them off. So if you're around, come and say hi if we're in the shop. And yeah, we'll be getting some more tetras and stuff for this tank. And I'll actually film breaking that tank down as well. So thank you very much for watching the video. Thank you for everyone who subscribes, shares, likes, does all that sort of stuff. It really means the world to me. And yeah, I can't tell you how much I love reading the comments, even though I struggle to get back to everyone. I am catching up, there's no doubt about it. So once again, thank you very much and bye for now. Now I've got to think of what to say.
Always bloopers.
Always bloopers, I know. Just because I f it up all the time.
I'll leave you alone.
Yeah. Now that all of the shit, what am I trying to say? Moss on the log there, a lot, you know, the log shit. I think we'll do an update, as I said before. We might even do a bit of footage going back down to it and just keep rolling. I just cut it out. If you're actually local on the Gold Coast and you wanted to buy some of my tank down as well, so and we've been planning on getting that done. So that's what today's video is about. It's about knocking that out. It's about setting that up, putting on an automatic water change system or so go and get comfy. I am going to talk about, so go and get comfy. I'm not going to talk about fish necessarily. I'm going to talk about tank setting